So yeah, with all... That's 319. Oh, so we're coming to it. We'll get there. So we can see that all this thinking that Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, all this effort that they put in, it paid off. They were purified because they were so focused. For others who are not so focused, they cannot get purified. So this thinking, this constant thinking, that's Krishna's most confidential instruction in the Bhagavad Gita. We have to think. Always think of Krishna. Manmana bhava mad bhakto. Manmana means think of me. But Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita as it is, he translates manmana as always think of me. Not that you think 5 seconds and then you think of something else. Always. The thinking has to be always. If it is not always, then it is sometimes. And if it is sometimes, that means the mind is diverted to other things. So thinking of Krishna always is what is necessary. Not that we focus on other things and then we expect purification. That's not how it works. So through this confidential instruction, we can practice the most highest form of devotional service, that is Uttama Bhakti, through Anukulyena, by favorable thinking of Krishna. We can also think of Krishna in unfavorably, but that will just slow the process down. It's going to be very long. The expressway or the Shigra mark of Bhakti. Bhakti already by itself is the fastest process. But even within Bhakti, there's favorable and unfavorable processes of Bhakti, which makes one go faster and others slower. So it is this always thinking of Krishna favorably, Anukulyena Krishnanu. That's what's important. We can see that even when a neophyte comes to Krishna consciousness for the first time, he's given certain glimpses, like he gets ecstasy from dancing, he gets ecstasy from associating with devotees, from honoring samshras prasadam. So these are all proofs that if one just simply takes to the prescribed form of bhakti as prescribed by a pure devotee, then the results are there. So one just has to follow Krishna consciousness favorably. And this also tells us that we should not imitate the Jay and Vijay incarnations in the material world when they came as the 6 personalities. We should try to practice bhakti favorably, not that, Hiranyaksha was always thinking of Krishna in anger, so let me also be angry and think of Krishna all the time. No, that's not possible for us because we're not at that level. We have too many distractions. We forgot who Krishna is. We have other things that our mind is engaged in, so we don't have the capacity to think of Krishna always. But the demons and the asuras, or anyone who takes to bhakti yoga as prescribed by a pure devotee, then they can take to Krishna's personal association very easily. Even if one comes from the most offensive background, it doesn't matter. If they simply take the instructions from a pure devotee and follow bhakti yoga as in the line of disciplic succession, then they can get in contact with Krishna. And the most simplest way in this age of Kali Yuga is to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And this is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, they give an exemplary example of this. Of course, they were incarnations of God. They were God themselves, but still they played the role of a pure devotee. And through this, they exemplified how if one simply takes the instruction of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra from a pure devotee, then even the most fallen conditioned soul, Jaga and Madhai, they can become pure devotees. And they became first-class devotees. And in the same way, all these people who are voidists, who are impersonalists, Mayavadis, who think of God as someone impersonal, who believe that God is dead, God doesn't exist, I am God, all these people, they also have a chance of coming to understand Godhead, His personality, through this pure chain of disciplic succession of pure devotees. Because once a devotee gives the instruction, chant Hare Krishna, and that person chants Hare Krishna even once, that same moment they're connected to Krishna. directly, personally, because they have chanted Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because they followed the instruction from a pure devotee. But the instruction to chant the Mahamantra has to come from a pure devotee. Not that these people who, you see there's so many temples in India where they have the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but in reverse order. They have Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So the karmis are also preaching, chant Hare Krishna. But Prabhupada says that ISKCON devotees need to preach. Why? It's because we are connected in the bona fide way to Krishna. So chanting Hare Krishna as instructed by a pure devotee, or any devotee, or devotee of the devotee of the devotee of a pure devotee. Doesn't matter how many times you put of a devotee, it doesn't matter. Because he's connected to a pure devotee, the power of that instruction is there. And with that, based on that power, one can become a personal associate of Krishna. So this verse basically talks about, or how I interpreted this verse, is how to become personal associate of the Lord. And that personal association can be achieved only through manmana bhava madbhakto, but anukulena, favorably. We can't think of Krishna in a negative way or in a hurtful way or in a demeaning way. That will simply just slow our process of bhakti yoga. But the fastest way, the Shigra Marg, is simply to think of Krishna favorably and follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and the spiritual masters and chant the holy name and please Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then the perfection of life, the highest elevation to the highest planetary system in the whole world can be achieved. That is Golok Vrindavan, and there we serve as the eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is perfection of life, not worshipping demigods or yourself or others, but worshipping Krishna. That's it. Any questions? Oh, can you get the mic? It's in the cabinet. It's one of the wireless mics. Yeah.
Is it set up?
No, just turn it on. It's set up. Yeah. Just press it on. It's set up already. There's another one. There should be another one. Oh, it's right here. It's right here. On the TV. Oops. Yeah, low battery.
Hare. Okay, good. Now
Loud
we're
and clear.
Live on the air. Yeah, this corresponding or parallel section in 7.1, where we learn about how the gopis and all these others became Krishna conscious, and some of these are by what appear to be adverse, thinking of Krishna. It does mention, interestingly, Vena, who was a king, but he did not enter the body of Krishna. In fact, he went directly to hell. He did not pass go. He did not collect $200. So he went directly to hell. Now, of course, the discussion is, why did these great enemies like Kamsa and Shishupal and these others merge in the body of Krishna, but Vena went to hell?
Because as far as I remember, Vena wasn't thinking of Krishna. There was no thinking of Krishna.
Right. So Vena was simply adverse to devotional activity. He wasn't specifically adverse to Krishna, and he was, adverse to the devotees. So for this reason, he did not go to enter the body of the Supreme, which shows that you can be a demon, and just being a demon doesn't guarantee you entrance into Krishna consciousness, through the back door. And so, folks, don't try this one at home, don't try to get into the Supreme Abode by acting as the most maniacal hatred of the Supreme Lord, So It actually is a possible path, but most people could not do it perfectly and likely would wind up going to hell like Vena, as opposed to following the path of the great Mahajans like Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha.
In the same verse, doesn't it also say in the translation itself that only Shishupal was able to achieve this? Or was it the next verse? 7:1. I was looking at it yesterday when I asked you what verse it was.
Yeah, it's 7:130 something.
32.
I was just there. Let me go back to it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's in the purport of that verse where Srila Prabhupada states, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in this connection, Tena Shishupaladi bhinna pratikula bhavam didishur yena iva narakam yatiti bhavaha. Except for Shishupal, those who go against the regulative principles cannot attain salvation and are surely destined for hellish life. The regulative principle is that one must always think of Krishna, whether as a friend or enemy. So that's all. I found that very interesting.
Yeah, right. But somewhere in this section is a discussion about Vena himself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember that. Let me see if I can put in a search for Vena.
Brāhmaṇas.
Yeah, they hummed him to death. Yeah, right. But instead he was just hummed to death.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's a very interesting chapter, actually. 7K, first chapter. The signs of God. Any other questions or comments?
You're talking about that you have to desire to go back to God and to get there. Because one thing is, basically, I think the problem is people don't realize how bad the material world is, and they don't realize how good the spiritual world is. Because if they did, then they would definitely want to go back to God, right? Even if they realize either of those,
Mm-hmm.
we realize how bad the material world is, they want to get back to get out of it. If we realize how good it was, then we go to this favorite Dāsa.
But I feel like it's interesting you say that, but I've also noticed that even like myself, like even though I know of that this material world is miserable, that there's something better than this, sometimes I don't have that desire to go back. Like it's like, okay, today's a slow day. He'll understand, Krishna will understand. Then I haven't realized it. I just know it as, yeah.
Sometimes, have you been in a place that is so bad, just like that?
Yeah. The DMV sometimes is terrible.
there's 7:117 where it actually says, O great sage, this is the verse itself. We are eager to know the cause for this mercy of the Lord. I have heard formerly the king named Vena blasphemed the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all the brāhmaṇas consequently obliged him to go to hell. Shishupal should also have been sent to hell. How then did he merge in the Lord's existence? So later on it's described that Vena was just antagonistic, but he did not meditate on Krishna constantly. He meditated on sense gratifications, obviously.
But still, Prithu Maharaj came out of Vena.
There's that devotee, what's his name, that does the planet cow. What's that? Ekendra, right? Who wrote a song called I Think I Like It Here. It only lets up a little, and then I think I like it.
Well, if there's no other questions or comments, then Srimad Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.